Good evening. This is a regular city commission meeting for the city of Largo for Tuesday, April 20th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order and remind you, if you have a cell phone, please turn it to silent or off so that we don't have any interruptions. We're going to start tonight's meeting with an invocation given by Pastor Joe Adams from Christ the King Lutheran Church. And then if you could please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. O Lord Jesus, Heavenly Father, what an awesome God you are. You love us and you care for us and you provide for all of our wants and needs of body and soul. And in that providing, you have established government and have commanded your people to honor and respect their government leaders. Therefore, I lift before your throne of grace our leaders, our mayor, and each one of our commissioners. And I pray that you would send your Holy Spirit upon them and grant them your wisdom as they meet this evening. Lord, we live in a contentious world, and yet I am thankful that this council can work together, share thoughts and ideas, and still be respectful to one another. May the love you have shown to us in Christ Jesus be reflected in each one of them. Lord, you know their agenda. And so I ask that you would guide them in all they say and do, that it would be done to your glory and the good of the people they serve. And I pray it in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. There are no ceremonial items, so we'll move right on to citizens' comment. Do we have any cards this evening?
I have 3 cards. First is Tiffany Stubblefield.
Hello, Mayor, Commissioners, and guests. Thank you for providing me the time to speak with you tonight. My name is Tiffany Stubblefield. I'm the founder and vice president of Arrow Warrior Group, a local-based nonprofit for veterans and first responders with PTSD. Recently, we helped author legislation in Washington that would bring assistance to surviving family members of veterans facing PTSD and suicide. This includes access to mental health treatment and federal recognition as Gold Arrow families. We are hosting a 5-mile run and hike on May 8th at 10 a.m. at Largo Central Park to celebrate our success from the House resolution to honor the first Gold Arrow family, the Ashley Taylor family. A husband and wife couple were both veterans and both died by suicide in the last 8 months, leaving behind their 2-year-old son. We hope the Gold Arrow family resolution will provide assistance to families suffering the loss of a loved one so that we may not lose another family like the Taylors. Please support and promote our hike on May 8th. 100% of the donations received at the event will support the Ashley Taylor Fund, which will be placed in a trust for their 2-year-old son, Aiden, who is now facing life without both of his parents. We continue to support veterans and first responders here in our hometown, and with your help, we will continue to make a difference. Thank you for your time, and please consider honoring our Gold Arrow families by adopting an annual day of recognition in the city of Largo. Thank you.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Tiffany, may I ask a question? What would be the best way to find out some more information on your organization if somebody would like to?
We have a website,
Yes.
www.awg.vet. You can find out things that we're doing on there, keep up to date with all of our events on that website.
Can we log up for this walk, hike, or sign up for that and at that website?
We're not taking any sign-ups. It's just come as you please.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is David Lloyd.
I'm going to speak last.
After him was Rob Williams.
Hello, Commissioners. Hello, Mayor. My name is Rob Williams. I'm the president of the Florida Celtic Soccer Club, and I'm here to discuss the Belcher Road Soccer Complex and just give a quick little background on it. I've been a Florida Celtic board member for about 6 years and the president for the last 3 years. My son Stryker plays on the U13 competitive team with Florida Celtic Soccer Club since he was 4 years old. He's been a member of the club as we have. And I'm speaking to you today about recommending our club to be the new tenant at the Belcher Road Soccer Complex starting on June 1st. And the main points for us to consider that, I know this is something you all are discussing with staff tonight. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I'm sure you all have received emails from myself as well as our members in the last few days, and so just wanted to come out here and address that. So the main points why I would say that you all should consider Florida Celtic Soccer Club is that the city's primary interest is recreational soccer. We have a strong recreational program that's one of the best, not only in Pinellas County, but in the Tampa Bay area. We have about 1,000 players this year, and that's during a pandemic year. We serve, of our competitive and our recreational program, 500 of our players are Largo residents, so we're already serving the city of Largo. Florida Celtic has been a nonprofit soccer club for over 40 years, based in Largo. We run all of our programs ourselves. The current tenant, Largo United, will be outsourcing their entire competitive program to a club from Pasco County, with all the revenue going out and up to Pasco County, which will be the 7th or 8th campus for that large soccer club. And Largo United Soccer Club has also shown through the numbers that I provided you all that they have not run a successful program for at least the last 10 years on the competitive or the recreational side. And I think the numbers bear that out. Let me just point out a few numbers. This year we have 1,400 player registrations, and that includes 25 competitive teams and 74 recreational teams. For comparison, Largo United has about 200, 250. And there's only 6 competitive teams this year, no girls teams. And so a lot of the Largo residents are not able to play at that club if they don't want to. Let's just get to the end here. So I'm here today to ask you to consider the facts in this case. Look at how many registrations, look at the families being served, and look at the Largo residents being served, because I think it's important that you take that all into consideration when choosing your next tenant for the Belcher Road Soccer Complex. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next speaker is David Lloyd.
Mayor, Commission, staff, I want to thank you for the time to speak. I'm speaking today. I really didn't need to, but I said, how could I not? I was born in Pinellas in 1970. I played soccer, and I'm now not only a business executive, but I coach. I started coaching soccer 5 years ago. I'm a Clearwater resident, and I coach for Dunedin Sterling Soccer Club. I'm a competitive goalkeeper coach, and I'm continuing to build my coaching licenses abroad, the UK, to bring back, because at the end of the day, we all want to win, but is it really about winning in youth sports? We watch what happens in youth sports, and it should be about development. You should have a pathway. You should have ways to bring everyone up, but you should also be serving your community and also finding ways to serve that child that doesn't have the ability to pay to play, to get them on the fields. So this kind of hit a personal nerve for me, just because I don't really have a stake in the game, other than the fact that roughly 3-4 years ago, and I'm not here to say one thing bad or different, good or bad, or point fingers, but the facts is that Largo United and the staffing of that facility is known for their tournaments, is known for the fields being underutilized. That's fine. But what happened almost 3-4 years ago is my club was almost disintegrated because of the fact that there was the pay to play. Tampa Bay United was coming in. That was the big sales pitch. Families moved. Our whole teams moved. Our director of coaching. And where is that relationship today? It's gone. It's gone. Money was made. Tournaments were good. So at the end of it, I guess I really want to commend Largo, because when this came out, and I commend, Rob from Florida Celtic. I mean, you had some great teams that tried out. You had the St. Pete Raiders, Pinellas County United, Florida Celtic. I figured others would, but a lot of people didn't because they didn't want to go up against Largo United and the history of it. But at the end of it, what's really being done for Largo citizens? Is that proper? Is it what should be done for the kids of Largo? Or are we just going to bring in another conglomerate? Because these conglomerates are what's a problem across the United States. Not to say that we don't want to win, but at what cost? And at what story? And what are you doing? And where are these kids really going to play? When TBU busted up, we're constantly taking Pinellas County kids and we're shipping them all to other counties. So that's one of the things. But when it came up, I thought, well, this will be good because at least someone will get a chance to get in there. And the initial decision was really a shock to just stay with the same club when these facts are known. But I understand that not everybody understands the facts, even though you can find them and they are there. And they were presented to Joan, and I commend her for pumping the brakes and saying, hey, let's really take a look at it. But let's really take a look at it, this from Largo, because it's not just about a conglomerate. It's about that kid and where he's going to play tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the cards I have.
Thank you. There is,
Oops.
my time up?
Sorry.
Done.
There's no consent docket today. We'll move on to legislative matters.
We need to-
Item number 3.
Approve the agenda. Approval.
We'll start with approving the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next is approval of minutes from the regular meeting of April 6th, 2021.
Move approval. Second.
Any changes or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now we'll move on to item number 3, approval of payment for fiscal year 2020 ambient water quality monitoring services.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. This item seeks for approval for payment to Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners for the 2020 Ambient Water Quality Monitoring Service Program, which is performed by Pinellas County Public Works Division of Environmental Management. These ongoing services are conducted as part of an interlocal agreement between Pinellas County, FDOT, Largo, and all of our co-permittees for the municipal separate storm sewer system permit. And this interlocal agreement was entered into on October 1st, 2013, and then later amended on December 5, 2017. In short, the service provided by Pinellas County is a water quality monitoring and assessment program. The purpose of the program is to continuously gauge the effectiveness of all the stormwater management programs for all the co-permittees for municipal separate storm sewer permit. And it does it by measuring water quality. Annually, there are all the samples that the county collects are measured and quantified, and then they assess the health of our water bodies throughout our entire permit area across all co-permitting jurisdictions. So Largo's portion of the payment this year is $56,530.21. And this is based off of a proportional jurisdictional area for all co-permittees. And at this time, I'll gladly answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have no cards.
Any questions from the commission?
I move to approve payment for FY 2020 ambient water quality monitoring services to the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners in the amount of $56,530.21.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is item number 4.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. I'm reporting virtually for this item tonight. City Community Development Department is requesting approval for the donation of lots 7 and 8 on Braganton Street. These lots were purchased through Federal Community Development Block Grant money in September for the purpose of partnering with a nonprofit to develop some owner-occupied affordable housing units on these lots. And Habitat is also building some houses on the same street and had approached the city for a lot donation to continue work down Bragington Street. Owner-occupied housing units, one on each lot, that would be resold for the area median income of about 80% or below median income level. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this? Any questions?
I move to approve donation of lots 7 and 8, Bragington Street, to Habitat for Humanity of Pinellas County Incorporated.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Some further discussion. Vice Mayor Robinson.
Just real quick, I just wanted to say thank you to Arrow. I know this kind of came through in a time of transition in the Community Development Department. There was quite a bit of transition going on, and I've heard really good things from Habitat on how well you handled this, so thank you very much for working so hard to get this. And then Sean, we all wanted to say hi to your wife as she was walking through over there.
She says hello as well, so thank you, Commissioner.
How did we, I couldn't find it in here, how did we acquire these properties? Was it?
The lots were left to Catholic Charities from a prior member of the church that requested, the stipulation was that the lots, if they're resold, that they be sold and those proceeds go back to the church. So the Catholic Charities was not able to donate those lots directly to us. So we did arrange a purchase with our community development block grant funding for those last year. And so we've been working on the disposition portion to provide those as a donation to get housing units on each of these lots.
Very good. And just on the map, I believe they're all the way to the far west towards Pinellas County Trail, correct?
That is correct. And then the 3 Habitat houses that are in construction right now are about mid-block between Clearwater Largo Road and these properties.
And that property used to be in bad disrepair.
But we're so happy to see Habitat investing in the neighborhood.
I do have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is item number 5.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is approval of a settlement agreement in the matter of Tampa Bay Waterkeeper et al. Versus City of Largo. As the Commissioner is aware, we've been negotiating a resolution of this matter since August, and we're pleased to present to you a settlement that I've described in more detail in our executive session that we held before the meeting began today. Under this settlement, the city is agreeing to continue the work to improve our wastewater collection and reclamation facility, to improve environmental effects of that system. We're also agreeing to pay $100,000 to the Tampa Bay Estuary Program for a project that will secure significant environmental benefits to Old Tampa Bay. The settlement is conditioned upon approval by the Department of Justice and a federal judge, which hopefully will not be a problem, but will just take some time before the agreement will actually be finalized and fully approved. Environmental services staff, engineering staff, and I have been working on this settlement agreement for quite some time and spent an extensive amount of time on this, and we all are happy to recommend approval of the settlement that is before you. One other thing, if you approve it tonight, there is a joint press release that will address the settlement that will be issued tomorrow that we have worked out with the environmental groups.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
I have no cards.
Any questions from the commission?
I move to approve the settlement of the matter of Tampa Bay Waterkeeper et al. Versus City of Largo.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Finger?
Thank you. Just to thank you to everyone who was working on making this agreement happen. I believe it was a lot of time spent with our wastewater staff. And we would just, I think, speaking on behalf of all of Commission, would really like to say thank you for the extra time that was spent in helping put together this agreement.
And the engineering folks as well, thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmer. Next up is the staff report.
We have way too much time here, so I'm going to, I hope that doesn't mean there'll be 1,000 questions, but I'm certainly going to try and answer them. Really what we're asking, I want to provide a little bit of background on what has transpired with respect to the Belcher Soccer Complex, and ask the commission to allow us to move forward with a little bit different approach. So just to provide by way of background, I've been with the department for over 20 years, and we've never done a process like this before. So we were feeling our way and trying, kind of learning as we go. We do many facility use agreements with different groups, and we arrange those. They don't come to the commission. They're done on a regular basis. They're renewed every so many years. So this was a very unusual circumstance. So in the fall of 2020, we received an inquiry from an area soccer club regarding their desire to consider them as a tenant for the Belcher Soccer Complex. The current use agreement that's in place right now expires at the end of May of this year, 2021. So, we have a number of long-term agreements with various organizations to operate programs of all different kinds. I'm sure you're aware of many of them. This was the first time there had ever been any kind of a challenge to continuing those long-term relationships. We thought about it for a long time, and we decided, well, it might be fair, it might be a great idea to go out and solicit proposals from other area soccer organizations. And so a solicitation was not a formal request for proposals. It was done under what's called a letter of interest for facility joint use agreement for a soccer organization. That was the official title. And we prepared all the things that we needed in cooperation with the procurement office. And we sent it to every one of the members of the Gulf Coast Youth Soccer Association. GISA is kind of the acronym. That was distributed in the middle of February 2021. And people had 30 days basically to respond. So on March 22nd at 3 p.m. we had received 4 proposals from area soccer clubs. At that point, a committee comprised of the athletics manager, the parks athletic field supervisor, the assistant director, and the director of recreation, parks, and arts. We met to review the letters of interest and their supporting documents, and determined who to invite for an in-person presentation. The committee agreed that there were 2 clubs, based on their responses and our understanding and knowledge of those groups, to invite them in to make a presentation. On Friday, April 2nd, the 2 clubs were invited, and they answered some questions from the committee, presented their information. The city's interview panel at that point consisted of the athletics manager, the athletic supervisor, the parks athletic field supervisor, the assistant director, and myself. So, it was very interesting, and we were under the understanding that this would operate the way we had always operated facility use agreements. We would make a decision and award the contract. At the same time, I know that you all received many emails, and at that point, the city manager determined that this was probably something that we should bring to the city commission. The signals were crossed. At that point, we, in the interest of notifying people, we had notified the 2 candidates that we had interviewed, what our recommendation was going to be at that point. all of the outpouring and, of course, the city manager's decision to bring this to this body really it was confusing, and I certainly accept any responsibility for proceeding the way we had always proceeded, which was to make a decision and get a contract out. It provided us, however, with a wonderful opportunity to even delve deeper into soccer, and that's what I really want to talk with you about tonight. It is clear that the business of soccer has changed dramatically in the 40 years or 40-plus years that the city first entered into a facility use agreement with any soccer club, all right? And because of that, it's been very difficult to compare proposals and really make the best decision. And my job, I feel, is to recommend what's best for the city of Largo, and that is the only thing that is of my concern. We had difficulties understanding what some of these affiliations, and you'll hear a variety of opinions on what different affiliations mean, how Largo resident players were identified. We know with our existing team that we check every player. We also know that a lot of people identify as a Largo resident. We know that from the rec centers. They're not really Largo residents. So that was kind of a difficult position to be in. And we certainly did not understand the role of tournaments in overall income and participation in programs. We don't get into the business understanding the business. We don't operate all these clubs. We lease, or let them use our facilities. We don't have the staff to actually oversee all of these different, the 8 o'clock theater, the Tuttle Dancers, the Railroad Club, the Fly Club, the Little League. We say, we want to work with them. You have to provide this information to us each year. You run your operation. You're an independent 501c3. But it made reviewing some of the difficulties of making these comparisons, we decided there might be a better way to do this. And that was to seek better focus in the actual proposals that first really recognizes the city's Belcher Soccer Complex is a valuable and highly desirable asset. And that needs to be somehow communicated to all of the respondents, that it has market value, very honestly, because this is one of those facilities that is really only used by whoever it is we recommend to take over that asset. The second thing is, again, the business of soccer has had rapid expansion in the last 10 to 15 years and has changed in many ways from what it was 40 years ago, which was recreational. Kids come out and learn a little bit about the game, and there's a lot of parent coaches, to a much more interest in ever-increasing competitive levels of play and a higher degree of professionalization. And there's a variety of ways that can happen with various affiliations, from other larger clubs to professional organizations. I've even received a call within the last week from the Rowdies, if you can imagine that. So there's really interest out there. And the final thing is, we just need to simplify how we oversee these agreements and how these agreements, what it commits us to, because we have a part-time athletics manager, a full-time athletic supervisor, and then some temporary people who go out to oversee games at 3 different locations on any given night. So we would like the opportunity to do a simpler, more prescriptive kind of criteria, and even consider just a straight rental agreement that reflects in some ways the value of that property. We've put together, we know what the city spends every year just on maintaining those fields, exclusive of any kind of capital investment, like when we replaced the lights to the tune of $300,000 a few years ago, and those kinds of things. We would also build into the criteria those things that are of most interest to the city, which is to have a robust recreational program. We want to be able to serve a more diverse population and really be able to reach out to some of those areas that are and populations that are underserved, and really leverage the outstanding facility that's in the heart of Pinellas for both club practices, for games, as well as to incorporate into the provisions some kind of agreement on tournaments. Again, we were wildly surprised at the value of tournaments at our facility. And under the current agreements, they run their own tournaments. We have a hands-off, we have no involvement at all. So we learned a lot over the last few months. And it was a first attempt. We certainly did it with all the best intentions. We think we can do it better. And I'm asking that you, I'm recommending to you that we redo the process and would come back to you with a recommendation, knowing that no matter what we do, someone is going to be unhappy. And that's just the nature of what we do. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I can't give you specifics right now because we will be meeting as staff to really try and come up with a better proposal that will get the city of Largo what we need for our residents.
Commissioner, or Vice Mayor Robinson.
Thank you. So I have just a couple questions right now. First off, if the current agreement ends in May, what are we going to? I'm assuming there's going to be some gap there between that and the end of that agreement and whenever we.
We can do a number of things, and we have talked about that. We can do an extension so that we can make a transition, or there's a variety of things. But yes, there could be a gap.
Okay, and then my other question for right now is, I don't want to be involved in making that decision, and I don't think any of us really do. And I appreciate you wanting to make a better decision or get more information to be able to make a better decision. My question is outside of that is, what do we do when other organizations, for example, maybe there's a weekend soccer team or a school or something that would like to use those fields? I know currently, if at all, it's a hassle. And I've had some dealings with the school that I'm involved with and the current organization at that soccer field, and it's been tough. Not to say they would be any different with any others. Mm-hmm. My question is, could we put into the, whatever that agreement is, because from everything you've said, that agreement allows that renter of the field, user of the field, pretty much sole access to the field. But again, it's an asset for the city of Largo.
Yes.
Right, and our residents. So I believe that it would be nice.
I think I know what you're getting at, and actually in the last contract that we did, the last facility use agreement, we did specify that we would have use of, I can't remember the exact terms, but maybe it was one field 2 nights a week and 1 Saturday a month, something like that. And we are able to then rent to various other groups that would like to use that field. And we can certainly, and we should, look at that even more closely, because up until a few years ago, we were never able to use those fields ourselves because they were constantly used.
Right.
You're right.
And, my understanding is that most of the the capital outlay for all those fields is coming from us, right? And
Oh,
and
absolutely.
There's a little bit of money paid from the organization back to the city for that rental and whatever, but there's other organizations that are outside of that, for, might be soccer, it might be some other sports that somebody would like to play on that size of a field that we would be able to use. And again, I think that goes to our goal of providing a service to our residents and our community members.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
I kind of piggyback off what Vice Mayor Robinson kind of asked about the extension a little bit, and at the same time, some groups that can't get in there, how we can maybe make that a little bit easier, a streamlined process. How do other cities right now, recreation departments, handle soccer fields that we did not catch?
I will tell you that, for example, the county, which leases fields, charges $1 a year, and they do everything. They walk away. They simply walk away. Other cities, I can tell you that Bel Air charges a straight rental fee for the use of their field. I can't, we're all over creation. I know that we created quite a stir in the soccer community in general, because I don't think anybody has ever done it quite this way in terms of reaching out to other clubs and having people bid. But I would think that other cities should be looking, because we have a wonderful asset that it has, that people are running a business on, and we want to get a balance between how we provide for our residents and how we can also provide a facility and have it used on a regular basis. So that's really what we're trying to achieve, is that kind of balance, I think. What's fair to us and what's fair to the renter.
Do we do the same thing for the softball field, the fields and stuff?
The softball fields, we run our own programs at White Soul Softball, and then we also do some rentals for groups can come in and rent it for a tournament or something like that. But we run our own leagues at White Soul Field.
How about other competitive sports that are kind of becoming the growing thing in communities? Are we going to apply this new kind of look at things?
I hope not. I hope we don't have to have every contract go to some kind of a public process every time. We have wonderful relations with a lot of our clubs and groups that use our fields. A Little League is a special case because they're done by district, and we've had, again, a very long-standing relationship. But I suppose if someone came in, Pop Warner, I think, runs a baseball program and said, hey, we want to use your fields, we might be in the same position. But I would hope that to a certain degree, with many of these groups, they are very much a part of us and have had a long tradition here. So balancing that is tricky, very honestly. There was a time when our swim teams and our synchronized swim team, those were city employees that ran those. But over the years, we have pulled back from having them run as staff-led programs and had others come in to actually run those programs. We're just not staffed to do all of those kinds of things. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
How do we audit them? All the emails I've gotten mixed signals from a lot of different things, so it seems... We in the current facility use agreement, we require each of the organizations, whether it's soccer or the Little League or whomever, to submit certain things each year. They provide an audit, so we know that they're financially sound and financially everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. They provide a copy of their parent handbook and their code of conduct, and I'll forget some of the things that we require. The insurance, if they're required to provide an insurance, naming the city as an additional insured. So there's a list of things that they provide on an annual basis. Typically, one of our staff members is allowed to attend their board meetings as just an observer and ex officio member, and that happens sometimes, and sometimes, the organizations, we get our signals crossed, but we do have our staff sometimes attend those meetings. And transparency going forward, how will this be improved if this moves forward? For, let's say, like you said, softball or one of those things come in here and want to bid like this happen.
Well, I think we'd do a much deeper dive into the business, especially in a very long-term relationship, to kind of see what the market is and kind of test those waters. But I think in general, if we've had a really good relationship with a particular group and we don't have any concerns, then and we don't have concerns about either the size of the program or the kind of program or the affiliations of the program. I mean, there's a million different components that go into these things. But, you take something like the Railroad Club. If another railroad group came in, I can't frankly imagine us saying, we don't want you anymore. You who have been here since the day the park opened and provided thousands of free rides to, and participated in our events. We would say, thank you for inquiring, but we have a relationship with a group that we're very satisfied with. So I think it's hard to say what we would do across the board in every single circumstance. We felt this was going to be a great idea. It turned into a much bigger thing than we ever anticipated. And we learned a lot, and we'd like a chance to do a little bit better, and we'll probably learn something the second time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gerard.
Thank you. I'm a little bit confused and I hope you can clarify for me. You sent out this letter of interest. Got the response back, interviewed 2 finalists, made a decision, and then heard a lot of feedback that caused you to reconsider. Now you're asking the commission for the ability to go back out and do this again. Was this agreement going to come before the commission? Or was it something that was just going to be done through the department, or was going to wind up on a consent agenda?
We've never brought one of these kind of agreements to the commission, ever. In my 20 years here, we've never done that.
Well, that's what I was a little confused about.
Right.
So, and now you're asking the commission to go back out again and do the process again, even though it wouldn't have come before the commission in the first place.
Correct.
Yeah, maybe I can follow up on that a little bit. Yeah, these things, as Joan has mentioned, have been pretty much on autopilot forever. So in this situation where we had what appeared to be a competitive situation where there were alternative organizations to provide the service, we went through a quasi-competitive process. And at that point, I thought this was a serious enough change, since we have had a long-term relationship with Largo United, that it's something that the City Commission should really weigh in on.
All right, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Are you going to go out to all organizations again like you did the first time they asked for that, or are we going to just be asking the 2 finalists to resubmit?
At this point, and I haven't met with my team yet to discuss this, we've had a couple people out, and that I would think we would go to the 2 finalists and give much more specifics, because we've already looked at some. We could go back to the 4 groups that submitted, but I would not go out to every member of GISA again and solicit proposals.
Not even the rowdies who might want to use our field?
Well, the rowdies I might make an exception for.
Can you give me an example or 2 of the new criteria that you're going to be looking at? I understand that you haven't put it together yet. You've made that clear. But we're going out again. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking to these folks again who've already, made a commitment, and you're going to be asking for new criteria, I understand. I've heard some generalities, but can you get a little bit more specific?
Well, I think we will probably consider recommending a certain level of a rental agreement. We left it wide open what the financial proposal would be, but I think that they need as well, in order to make a proposal, an understanding of what the city's investment in this facility on an annual basis, is, and that there needs to be some understanding of the value. That's probably number one. I think we need to be much, much clearer about the numbers, the target numbers that we would like to see, particularly on the recreational side. We're not as a recreation department, not as interested in what the competitive level of play is. We know that kids join a recreation program and then move into competitive. So clearly there's a relationship that's there, but we want to really stress, and we other than just asking for some numbers, we didn't say, here's a target that we want to reach in terms of our recreational program. And those would be two of the things that would be really important to us to convey to any prospective teams.
Have you looked into the competitive side of this, which of course leads to more recognition for the players, I would imagine, and perhaps even scholarship opportunities?
Oh, yes.
In the future?
All of those things, have we looked into? We really have not. We don't get into dealing with that part of it. We know that every club that submitted any kind of a proposal had both a recreation program and a competitive program, and all talked about the number of people who had gone on to play in college or had college scholarships or aspired to become college players. So everybody who has that sequence of programs, recreation and competitive, uses the recreation program to draw people into their competitive program.
Are you going to be weighing things like diversity and inclusion? Are there going to be specifics?
That is, one of the things that we would also, thank you for reminding me, sometimes when you're up here, you forget things that you really want to say. We would really like for whoever is the successful bidder to have a commitment to taking some programs into some of our other areas of our city and to some of our other parks to run either clinics or, give it a try kind of programs, and that's very important to us, because I think that's the way you build, because a lot of those kids don't necessarily have the transportation and the support system to make it to a one facility, so we need to take some things to them.
Finally, and thank you so much. Finally, although Vice Mayor Robinson and Commissioner Smith have already mentioned it, today is April 20th.
Yes.
The current agreement expires at the end of May, which is May 30th, 31st. I should know I was born in May, but anyway, and I happen to, and I know from long experience too, that if you have somebody who's in a long-term position and for whatever reason, and I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, they lose that position, it's best to invite them to vacate as quickly as possible. So I heard you talking about extensions. Is there a way that we can tighten this up so the decision, so the request goes out, the answers come in, and decisions made, and so that carryover period that you were talking about is minimal?
That would be our goal, is that we make as quick and fair a decision as we can make, and give enough time for someone to either move in or move out and do that, but not to prolong. Frankly, I'm not interested in prolonging the agony, that's for certain. And I know your emails have been filled with things, but I've talked to both of the current groups and have told them this is when it ends, but yes, we might have to give a month extension in order to make a transition, but we will do it as quickly as we can.
Personally, I would hope it'd be a great deal less than a month. I really do. I would think, since we've been asked to do this, I would like to see this be expedited, as judiciously as good prudence would dictate.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I had a couple questions.
Yes.
How long, the current agreement that expires shortly, how long are those agreements?
3-year agreement.
So 3 years, and so every 3 years, staff kind of looks at it, and so I know in hindsight, I would think that breaking from that norm, where we're going to, hey, instead of just re-upping this contract, we're going to put the word out on the street. That is when it probably should have come to commission. And then kind of develop a strategy, whether it's going to be the city commission's decision on that, or a staff committee's decision, or the staff committee makes a recommendation. That's, in hindsight, that's when it should have been brought to us, I would think. If we change, engineering firms that we contract with, it comes to the commission. There's a lot of things that come to the commission just kind of for a nod. We're going to do things a little bit different. So I would have liked to see it come to us at that point. I tell this story a lot. The reason that I'm the mayor is because I tried to rent Largo soccer fields
Really?
20 years ago.
I did not know that.
And I wasn't able to. I was told by city staff that although you live in Largo and they're Largo fields, we don't really control them at all. So call Largo Wolves, I think at the time. Maybe it was Largo United, I'm not really sure.
No, that was the Wolves.
And I called there and they kind of laughed at me. You wanted to play what? I was playing for a competitive ultimate frisbee team out of Tampa. We were always looking for field space to practice. And they said, no, these are our fields. You can't rent them. And so I was upset about that. And I started looking into how to change that, which put me on the Recreation Advisory Board eventually. And, one thing led to another, and now I'm running a meeting. So I feel somewhat strongly about a lot of things here. And, when I was on the Recreation Advisory Board, I always advocated for building partnerships with groups, whether it's the Little League or the soccer club, for not losing ownership. Those fields belong to the city of Largo.
Yes, they do.
The baseball fields belong to the city of Largo. So, and you and I have talked about this many, many times. And it's a challenge that a lot of cities deal with. So that's something that I think needs to be in this agreement is these are Largo fields. I don't mean the city of Largo, I mean Largo, people that live here. And so that should be the primary focus, are the folks that live here. So I don't know how we get to that end, but I envision good partnerships with summer camps. I envision when the tournaments, I don't know how many tournaments are there a year, but we should know about those tournaments. We should partner with them. Those are Largo tournaments. They should be marketed as Largo tournaments. And we should participate in that, either financially or just in the marketing or whatever. So going forward, regardless of who we choose, I think some changes really need to happen. We need to focus on the kids that play here, whether it's a recreation program. I'm not sure how either of the clubs are really functioning, but when my kids played there, when they played recreation soccer, they rarely played, probably half the time they played at Largo fields. We would play other Largo teams at Osceola. It was like a parking lot field. And it wasn't really a soccer field, but there was soccer goals. Because we were recreational, like under 8 or something like that, and we weren't a priority. I want our kids to be a priority, regardless of who's there. So those are my goals. I suspect that when staff was presented with a club that said, hey, we're interested, I suspect that there were some things that they weren't real happy about with the current folks. Otherwise, they would have said, no, thank you, we're happy with who we have, just like you would have done with the trained people. So I suspect that there was some challenges, and maybe staff looked at this as an opportunity to improve the situation. So I hope that we come out of this with an improved situation. Okay. Might have had a question in here. And I also wanted to mention, you said the rowdies. A couple years ago, we talked about, we kind of toyed with the idea of Major League Soccer spring training here as well, because some of the other communities, and we decided, at that time, I think we consciously decided that more important than a spring training club coming and occupying our situation for a couple months, we wanted to focus on kids that play soccer and live here in Largo. And I think our motivation has not changed whatsoever. So I hope that we make a good decision. Commissioner Carroll.
Mayor, now that you have ascended to the position of mayor, can you rent the field?
Well, it depends. I don't know.
But, I'm going to be with the Friends of Joan tonight, and having been a department director who has made lots of decisions that seem relatively routine, only to find out they generate a whole flurry of email, then all of a sudden you discover, oh, it's time to talk to the city manager, and then the city manager says, oh, it's time, we might want to run this by the commission. So I guess what I would say here is, even though this kind of comes before us in an unorthodox way, it is an opportunity for us to learn more about the value and appreciate the value of this asset that we have in the city, and take it as an opportunity to go forward with a better plan here. I have to agree with you, Mayor. The real estate, the assets, all the things that the city of Largo owns belong to the people that live here first and foremost. And so anyway, in defense of the current situation, I'm glad it's before us, and I think it's an opportunity to tighten up some things. But it reminds me of some other recent discussions we've had on other recreational facilities and assets that generates a lot of emotion and a lot of support from various members of the community. And what I learned in those previous discussions was people kind of came in thinking, oh, the city's making another stupid decision, only to find out that we were having an actual dialogue and committed to making the right decisions for our citizens. So I think that's the same thing that's going to apply here.
Thank you. Commissioner Holt.
So going last, all I can really do is reiterate what has already been said. I think the mayor actually really hit the nail on the head with probably 99% of what he said. To me, what's been in my head through this whole thing is it's the citizens of Largo, the children of Largo, and that's what's important in this. Not about the money or everything goes around, everything revolves around money right now, but what, we promise certain amenities in our city, that word. And the soccer fields are one of them. We've been through the golf course, the diving board, the high dive. And as a commissioner, what's important is the citizens of Largo. That's who we represent. That's why we are up here, and we're speaking for them. So I think it's really important that we focus on what's important for our children and citizens of Largo. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to make one other comment. You said that someone will be unhappy. It's the nature of what you do. That's not the nature of what you do. You're Parks and Recreation. You make everybody happy.
We try.
It's the nature of what we do.
We're in this together.
That's why it's here.
Commissioner Gerard.
Thank you. First of all, I want to correct Commissioner Hulk. I know you meant it all in good spirit, but the mayor is 100% right.
I was going to ask her what the
Nobody's
1%
perfect.
The mayor is always 100% right.
Thank you.
I do want to say, though, that because Largo has superior recreation, parks, and arts facilities, I would stack them up against any other facility in the county, that's why people are so interested. And that's why there's so much emotion and drive behind everything that we do, regardless of what the facility is. I want to say that. And then I want to ask an important question. Is it your intention to bring this back to the commission for approval after you make a suggestion, seeing as how you're asking us for approval to go out? Or is this going to be signed and then we're going to be informed?
I'm sorry, could you say
Are you
that?
going to ask the commission is a new agreement going to come to the commission for approval?
I would be happy to bring it to you if you would like. Yes.
Is there a plan? Because this has always been done, in the background,
Mm-hmm.
Should I ask the city manager that?
Yeah, because of this is such potentially a significant change, I think we should bring the agreement back to the city commission for your approval. And then going forward, if there's routine, renewals in the future, then they would probably be handled administratively.
And there'll be a new process for reviewing these things on a regular basis. So as much as is humanly possible, we won't be caught short again.
I certainly hope so.
You do?
I do.
I thought maybe you were enjoying yourself right now.
No.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yeah, sorry, I don't really have, just wanted to make the comment of, well, first of all, apparently we need to send Largo United or the Wolves a thank you card for the mayor being where he is today. So we'll get that out tomorrow.
Send it to Gage Entry. Right?
Okay. But, yeah, you know, I'm not going to rehash all the comments. We've all had similar comments. I'm sure you understand what we're looking for. But, I mean, those fields are an asset, absolutely. You know, I played out there from a little kid all the way through high school. When I was playing at Largo High, I still played on a competitive team out there. So, you know, I really enjoyed those fields and understand what the game of soccer can do for kids. And you know, some of the discussion we have about, you know, equity and inclusion and bringing some other folks in that aren't able to necessarily make it out there is going to be very important. And providing that service to our residents.
Absolutely.
Most importantly.
Absolutely.
So that's all. I don't want to continue on.
One other, just because you mentioned that, one other facet I think that is important is my niece plays competitive soccer in college. So I was actually able to go to one of her games. She plays for the University of South Carolina, go Cox. And I think they're the number 8 team in the country right now, the women's team. So when I was there, I was talking to the parents of some of the players. It was a COVID game, so only the parents and close family were allowed, and so we were socially distanced and stuff. Everybody there, every parent of a Division I high-level soccer team, girls soccer team, they were all doctors, attorneys, financial planners. They were all wealthy. And they talked about it. They talked about that as a problem with soccer. So I think this is an opportunity for us to help garner some kids that aren't wealthy and put them through a quality program kids that live in Largo. Maybe sponsor them through the program, a kid a year or something, whatever. I don't know. But I think it's a real problem with competitive sports, especially soccer. I think travel baseball is probably getting like that a little bit too. Maybe girls indoor volleyball.
I was a parent of a synchronized swimmer, and I can tell you that was a very expensive sport.
Right. So I think that it might be an opportunity going forward. I know that people who become successful playing soccer see that that's a problem and are looking for ways to fix it. So I think that there's an opportunity here. It's certainly something that a lot of people are anxious to do.
And I think soccer, the nature of soccer as a world sport also brings a demographic that we want to reach. All
Any
right.
other questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, are we looking for some kind of a consensus?
Can we give her our answer?
I think we've had a pretty good consensus.
We'll be back.
Yeah, I think we agree with bringing them on back.
Okay. Thank you very
Soon,
much.
Please, come back soon, please.
Thank you. Will do.
Thank you.
Mr. Zimmett, do you have anything more this evening?
I have nothing more tonight.
Mr. Gerard?
Just a couple of very quick things. First of all, I want to get the word out there that there are still some openings here in Largo for seasonal workers, for seasonal employees. If you're looking for summer work, please check in on the city website, check in the Recreation, Parks, and Arts department. There are some openings, and we're looking for good, enthusiastic people for some summer work. And it's great work, and it's great involvement in the city, and you're working for the best organization in Tampa Bay. Second, Earth Day is coming up on Thursday, and we should all take a moment to thank the earth for giving us life and sustaining life, and appreciate our role in that and in our resilience and sustainability. It's an important day, and it's kind of fallen into the background a little bit, but nowadays it's more important than ever. And with that, just because I like to cause troubles from time to time, I'd like to see if staff can do something to perhaps come up with an idea that we can actually promote a dark sky night or two in the city. I don't know about all you folks, but light pollution has blotted out the sky, and if you look up into the night sky around Largo, you might see on a good day the Big Dipper and think that's all there is, but it's not. And dark sky and light pollution are issues that I would like to see us address. So just something else for us to look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Robinson.
Thank you. I just wanted to again thank the commission for allowing me to travel to Tallahassee last week. We had Commissioner Dan Saraki from Oldsmar and myself and former Representative Jennifer Webb, who is now the legislative consultant for the Suncoast League of Cities, made the trek up there. Fortunately, I think this year was the only time. Usually, we're up there 6 or 7 times during session, but we had a very productive meetings. We met with Representatives Coaster, Latvala, Diamond, and DeSigley, and then also Senators Hooper and Brandis. Senators Hooper and Brandis have been very helpful this year to stop some of the bad legislation that's been moving through. Haven't been able to stop all of it, but they've done a good job of kind of slowing some silly stuff down. So we'll definitely be recognizing them for the good work that they've done. But again, thank you all for allowing me to miss the meeting. I didn't miss the meeting, but attend virtually while I was in Tallahassee. Thank you.
So that's what the Senate does, slow the silly stuff down, pretty much.
That's their technical job, yeah.
Commissioner Hulk.
Yes, just thank you to everybody who sent emails to us regarding our staff report today and those of you who came here and spoke. I would also like to say happy birthday to Monsignor Morris at St. Catherine's of Siena Church. Today is his birthday. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Carroll.
No, other than to kind of piggyback on what Commissioner Holk said, thank you to everybody that had input on this soccer discussion. And I would just reemphasize that I think it's good for an organization, any organization, to take a look at how it does business periodically, look for opportunities to improve. And I think it actually is a very, very healthy process. So we can't make good decisions without community input, so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
First, I got my second shot yesterday, and I recommend our citizens, as the partner of a pharmacist, to make an educated, go out and learn about, some people have questioned it, but your pharmacists are there to answer any questions you have or concerns, your doctors. But please don't take it lightly, and do what you can do for your fellow people who have been dealt a really bad hand in this. Second, it's kind of piggybacks a little last week. I couldn't ask the question because the mayor had to leave a little bit early, but it's relating to our committee assignment list. With Ford Pinellas, I wanted to get a little bit clear direction of what each member is kind of looking for, because we have quite a large agenda. And I know Gloria was sending out the entire agenda once we voted on it, and I'd like to know if y'all, when it comes to my committee assignment, if there is something that you're looking for, if you've heard about transportation or land use or concern, a question about it, what would you like to learn more about? Would it be the Department of Transportation? Would you like public speakers like Witt to come more often, or staff from Forward Pinellas to come speak about something relating to a topic, or the Department of Transportation, if you'd like to have the district secretary come to speak about what's going on. I kind of want to get a little bit more heads up of what y'all are looking for, so I'm not just having Gloria send an entire agenda, because some of the project list things can get buried in there, and then people don't know what they're wanting to find out. So I would just ask that, again, that if you have anything, please send it to me about transportation, or you think Witt or his staff can get more information to you and your constituents.
Certainly any updates on projects that directly affect Largo that you see through the DOT or from Fort Pinellas.
All right.
Bring those to us at a work session would be.
How about also unincorporated Largo? You want those also?
I mean, if they're unincorporated, the roads that go through unincorporated Largo also go through Largo.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Okay.
So if they affect us.
Okay. And what kind of, would you like quarterly reports or yearly report from Witt or staff?
What I would say is if you guys are discussing something at Fort Pinellas that affects Largo, just give us an update on that, on those projects.
Okay. All right.
Agreed?
All right.
And that kind of goes for, if everything you talk about is in Manatee County or whatever, I don't need a full report on that.
Okay.
And I won't bring that full report from Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, for example.
All right, thank
Unless
you.
it's a big old phosphate plant that's dumping it out.
Yeah.
Hypothetically. Thank you. Is that all?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Finger.
A big thank you to the Recreation and Parks Department, as well as anyone else who may have been involved. I know that we had some outside partners for our volunteer appreciation event that was last Friday evening, and it was a drive-through event given our current COVID situation. So it was still a lot of fun and well attended. And so I say thank you for those who did come through the drive-through. Thank you to our volunteers, and also thank you to everyone who did participate from the city. So, thank you.
Thank you. And that was the only thing on my list. I'd like to thank the staff and all you guys that showed up. And I was planning to be there for the first hour, and a pair of baseball cleats blew out a half an hour before a game, so I ended up going to a store. But thank you to everybody that helped put that together, and certainly, above all, thank you to all the volunteers that help us do what we do here in Largo for our residents and businesses. Mr. Schubert.
Yes, I have one item this evening. I want to talk about 4th of July and fireworks. Based on what the other cities are doing in Pinellas County and the progress that we're seeing being made in vaccinations, and also the fact that it's an outdoor event, staff and I feel it's probably appropriate to go ahead and have fireworks on the 4th of July. What a lot of communities are doing is that they are scaling back their events some, so the focus is on the fireworks and not necessarily on a lot of other ancillary activities that same day. So I just want to make sure you're on board with that. And then I want to just review with you quickly a couple of alternatives. The one is have the fireworks at our normal location in Largo Central Park. Again, focus primarily on the fireworks. We'd probably have some music and maybe some scaled down food and beverage vendors available. The other alternative that we have discussed somewhat at the staff level is, in order to keep the crowd sizes down, would it make any sense at all to maybe divide the fireworks display into two different locations? There's still a lot of details that would have to be worked out on this, so I just want to get your input as to whether we do one or two. The two alternatives, we would do them on either end of town, maybe split the display between Datsco Park, as an example, and the golf course. Again, that would reduce the crowd size. It's obviously a much shorter display. It would be half of what we normally do. And again, there are some contingency issues there, so I'm not sure if that would actually work out or not. But would you want us to just focus on Largo Central Park as we traditionally do, or would you want us to explore the feasibility of two separate locations?
Well, if we shoot them off during the day, then nobody shows up, and then we don't have any of those problems.
Or we could do a drive-through, a drive-by fireworks display, just driving through neighborhoods.
I didn't mention that. Just put it on the back of a semi and drive
Just
around
start
town.
driving around
Start at 8:30.
Blowing them off? That's awesome. I just want to
Just
follow.
go through the neighborhoods, drive.
Bring back memories, doesn't it, Jim?
Personally, I think my preference would be, there's so much more space in Largo Central Park than either Datsco or, the golf course is big, but the parking lot is like twice the size of this room.
Yeah.
So,
Parking for either Datsco or
yeah,
golf courses.
It's going to be a good amount of people crammed in a smaller space.
I would rather see one good display with a good,
I agree. And
grand finale than a couple of smaller ones.
I mentioned this to the city manager when we talked about it just the other day. I think that there's plenty of places around Largo Central Park that you can still see the fireworks. The triangle over the high school, there's plenty of places around you can still see the fireworks if you don't want to get into the park, if you're not comfortable being in there. And then encourage people to still wear masks if they got to be close to folks, and social distance if they're not wearing a mask and that type of stuff. My preference would be at the park.
Okay, is everybody on board with that?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so we'll have the fireworks the evening of July 4th at Largo Central Park.
And we allow coolers since we're going to have limited vendors, we do allow.
I believe so, yes,
Coolers,
yes.
okay.
There's nothing wrong with people want to come out and, have a picnic meal in the park, sure, that's great.
All right, and that's it?
That's it?
Thank you. Any action items?
The only one I had was Commissioner George's request that staff look into having a dark sky night in the city.
Very good. Meeting's adjourned.